Hey everybody, I'm Andrew.
And I'm Paul.
And welcome back to the Fan Voice. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a little bit.
We have been incredibly busy because of Phoenix Comicon and stuff that came before and after that.
Yeah.
So we haven't really had time to record a podcast in a while, and we figured there was no better topic than Phoenix Comicon.
Absolutely.
Because it was an awesome con this year. It really was.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're just going to kind of talk about what we thought of it, what our favorite panels were, what the exhibitor hall was like.
Your favorite panels?
What my favorite panels were. True. So yeah, let's just talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I was honestly really fearful of coming into Phoenix Comic-Con just because of the experience of last year with both Phoenix Comic-Con and Anime Expo.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like last year was the super like pivoting point of con popularity where
right.
like the population of con fans suddenly just like tripled from
right.
the year before,
yeah,
and no one was ready for it. And
there were some definite growing pains.
Yeah,
during
absolutely.
that because the con didn't really know what to do.
Yeah.
And I think that was a real problem.
Absolutely.
But I mean, let's start talking about that. I mean, kind of like differences between last year and this year.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the population of the con fans is definitely still really big, you know.
Oh yeah, it's huge.
The full weekend pass totally like sold out and stuff like that, which I think was similar last year. But yeah, I feel like there was like even more people this time, but it didn't feel as crowded.
Not at all. And that's the thing is like the exhibitor hall was bigger.
Yeah.
Things were on different floors.
Uh-huh.
And in different buildings. So I never felt like I was, oh my god, I have to wait in this mass of people just to get into the exhibitor hall.
Yeah,
never
exactly.
an issue.
Yeah.
I have to, like, the aisles are so packed that you can't move in the exhibitor hall.
Right.
Never had that problem on Saturday.
No,
Saturday at, like, 1, I was in the
Right.
exhibitor hall, totally fine.
Yeah. There was no, like, ocean crowd or anything like that.
No, I mean, there really wasn't. I mean, the only time that there really was is when the exhibitor hall opened. At like 10 a.m. or whatever it was, or maybe 9.
Well, that makes sense.
And there were a lot of people waiting in that lower lobby area.
Right.
But once it opened, I mean, I never had a traffic issue.
Yeah, and it's totally understandable just because of how gigantic the exhibitor hall was.
Yeah. This thing is enormous this year.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, obviously it is not San Diego Comic-Con level where there's like multiple exhibitor halls.
In time, my friend.
In time. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. It has to. I mean,
Yeah.
but this thing, it took up the entire lower level.
Yeah.
It was insane.
Absolutely.
And it was really, really cool, actually, that, it was still just individual vendors.
Uh-huh.
And there were comic book makers there that had booths, but there were no, like, TV people. Like, this is something somebody mentioned to me. Is they're like, oh yeah, do TV studios, do movie studios come? And I'm like, no. I'm like, oh, that's awesome, actually. They don't have big, ridiculous booths like they do at San Diego Comic-Con.
Oh,
It's really just the ones that the producers that actually come are the comic book companies.
Okay, yeah.
And that's awesome.
Yeah,
and like it's
absolutely.
not even Marvel and DC, it's smaller ones like Dark Horse and other ones like that.
Yeah, that's another thing. I feel like this year there was a lot of like smaller like artists and like you said comic people because of course my favorite part was the art, which received a huge boost compared to last year because I feel like last year there were some cool ones like but not nearly as many and all like just like main comic book themed except for like a sparse few, but like this year I saw like everything.
No, seriously,
like,
everything.
Game stuff, cartoon stuff, all that jazz, anime things, and just really, really creative pieces. You know, I guess I'll go into like the specifics of the vendor hall.
Yeah.
Then we'll move to your panels.
Okay.
If that sounds good to you.
Yeah, definitely.
So, I don't know. Admittedly, my con plans kind of fell apart due to, like, obligations and stuff. So I was just there Saturday. Mm-hmm. And I spent the entire Saturday in the vendor hall. And I tell you, a full day, it took me a full day to reach everything. I mean, if I briskly walked by everything, I could have done it faster. But to really, like, see and check out everything close up took a full day. And some of my favorite, I'm just going to shout them out right now. Some of my favorite artists, I got 3. First one is 8-Bit Artist who, if you're local around here, you might have seen his stuff because he's actually they bought a lot of stuff from him from the bar Endgame.
Right.
One piece notably is the gigantic 3-piece of the last boss in Final Fantasy VI, Kefka, which it shows his monument to non-existence, and it is just a glorious piece. I went up to it. He actually had it in the back of his booth, just sitting there. I walk up to it. It's like $5,000.
Yeah.
And I'm like, understandable, but nope. So I also talked to him about if he did like smaller pieces, and he's like, yeah, I'll do a somewhat smaller one for $150. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, that's still out of my price range. So I looked through his stuff, and he has just fantastic art. Some of it is just kind of like creative originals, while others are specific scenes from video games. You got one of Link and Mega Man and all that, and specifically one I found for Kirby Superstar, which was an exact frame of the first game, Spring Breeze, which it was just beautiful. I mean, he hits so hard for the nostalgic because he's an 8-bit designer. It's so accurate and stuff, but I ended up going back later, and it ended up being sold out. So yeah, that's a 8-bit gamer. And then the second one I wanted to mention, where is he? E-Slinger.
Okay,
art.
E-Slinger is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the guy that does, it's kind of like paint splotches, sort of.
Right.
But he makes, I mean, it's amazing stuff. Yeah. I go, what's his website? It's KevinEslinger.com. Yeah.
Yeah, and
probably pronouncing his last name wrong. Yeah. Go check it out. We'll link all this in the description. Obviously.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's amazing.
It's really, really cool. Like you said, like paint splatter mixed with like somewhat accurate silhouettes of stuff. It's a really interesting combination.
Really cool.
To meld some like amazing results. And he does a lot of like Marvel superhero things, but he's also done Star Wars and Alien, which was the picture I got. So good, so good. But yeah, he was definitely one that caught my eye, where that I guess did a little more of the mainstream comic stuff,
right?
As well as like the big stuff like Star Wars and stuff. He did some really interesting things with that. So check out E-Slinger. And then the last one I wanted to mention was Jed Henry, who he did some amazing things. It was like ancient Japanese design renderings of current Nintendo games. Right. And oh my gosh.
And a bunch of other stuff too, but
what did he do other things? Oh yeah. Like what was it?
He did Princess Mononoke is the one that I got, but that was kind of, it was not as traditional Japanese as this. But he also did Final Fantasy VI.
Right.
He did
Chrono Trigger.
Right, Chrono Trigger.
And the Giants.
Right. Shadow of the Colossus.
I've been forgetting the name of that all weekend. I passed by like prints of that like 5 times, and I'm like, Marshall, the Giants. What is it?
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know why I'm blanking on.
And then and then he also of course did. I'm gonna load this really quickly.
Yeah.
But he also did a bunch of other ones as well. Let me look.
Yeah, like a really fun Mario Kart one.
Mario Kart.
Batman.
Which
is really awesome.
He's done one of those Samus. That one was really cool.
Pokemon, Zelda,
and then Avatar.
Ball, and Avatar.
Last Airbender. And
which fit in perfectly.
The Avatar ones were sold out, and my friend got one. And I was so jealous of her. They're so awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, check them out. We'll actually link their site as well.
That really brings an interesting point because like the popularity of Comicon, it's like almost an anime expo phase in me now, like where it's like, okay, I got to get to the art gallery right away and buy what I want right away.
Yeah,
like,
it's true.
Things sell out. That's like how popular these things are, which is like absolutely great, you know? Okay, so you saw a lot of just this one. I want to ask, what is your favorite out of like all the prints you did?
What? That one's tough, actually. I actually really like the Samus one.
Yeah?
I think it's awesome.
Dude, the Metroid designs are so dang interesting. I like that a lot.
Either the Samus one or the Avatar one.
Okay.
To be perfectly honest, I really like those a lot.
Nice. Yeah. Avatar just fits so well. Yes, that is my favorite one.
The Star Fox one is awesome.
Flying Nemesis into the sky with your best frog and bird friend.
Yeah.
So cool.
So yeah, those are really cool.
Yeah. Among like those were my 3 favorites, but like there were so many other fantastic artists there that just did really interesting and creative stuff with the universes. Like there is one you bought a couple prints with the smaller I forget the name of that.
And actually I was just looking that up on my phone real quick to find. It's thebeastisback.com. I was gonna remember what his
Beast is Back.
Yeah, thebeastisback.com is his website, and he does all of these little prints of just caricatures of characters. And they're amazing, and he had an entire wall of them. And that was really, really, really cool.
They're basically like dapper chibis.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. And it was such a cool little art style that kind of stood out. So he had them all on like these string.
Yeah.
And so they're just like really tiny ones. And it was so cool because you could just look and it was like everything.
Yeah.
Really the only thing I think he was missing, like, I didn't see Avatar stuff, but there were games, movies, TVs, animes.
Yeah,
I mean, everything. Yeah. I got a Calcifer one that's my favorite.
Great.
It's my new favorite print. And they're just tiny little ones. They were fantastic. He also had kind of bigger prints with, like, themes. So he had, like, a Batman one and an Avengers one.
Ooh.
With all of the different Avengers on it.
Yeah,
it was really great. His name was Chris. I'm going to try to find it. Christopher Lee.
His name's Christopher Lee.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
And he was awesome. And he's definitely,
a really cool guy.
That was definitely my favorite artist booth this year. It just kind of stood out. And actually, it wasn't even in the artist section. It was just in the normal section. But it really...
Yeah, it was like kind of in the heart of it all. Really close to the t-shirt place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it just really stood out to me.
Yeah.
And I really appreciated, like, how different a style that was. Mm-hmm. It was really, really cool.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that was definitely my favorite artist.
One more shout out to Chris for recognizing my May t-shirt.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Anyone who knows May is a friend of mine. It's fantastic.
I forgot about that. That's right. Totally.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, Artist Alley this year was... Well, I guess it's not really Artist Alley, but the artist section, what I call the Black Drape section, was definitely the best part.
Fantastic.
It was just awesome. It really was.
And like filled in between the sections, you know, you got your big T-shirt tower and like a lot of cool merchandise booths. Oh my gosh, freaking energy swords everywhere.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah,
like lightsabers and stuff. You mean, or like
no, the Halo energy swords.
Oh. Yes. Yes, absolutely.
You had the metal ones
thinking of that
and the foam ones, and everyone had them now. Like,
yeah,
they're like the next like addition to the small foam collection that's forming.
It's kind of true. Wasn't really thinking that until you just said it. And yes, yeah. And it's funny too because, you know, like I would come up to like a booth that makes swords, and that would be the first one. that I would see every time.
Yeah.
So you're absolutely right.
Yeah, which is, I think it's great because, like, foam weaponry, like, if you do it right, can be absolutely great because they'll be, like, con legal and still look fantastic, you know?
Yeah.
They started with the Master Sword, and now they got a Kirito's sword and also Attack on Titan foam swords, I believe.
Yeah.
And now the Energy Sword added to that collection. They also have Keyblades, but I'm sorry, I don't know who's making those, but not much effort's getting put
it's kind of true.
They're just blockish and like lazily designed. I'm waiting for the well-designed one, you know?
Yeah,
like if you just do the Kingdom Key, it won't be that hard, you know?
No, that's true. Yeah, that's a good point. And yeah, they're a little maybe not so well made as the other ones.
They're just blocks.
But the other cool ones is that those lightsabers were everywhere.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Everywhere. And that booth was always full of people
the design your own lightsaber. Yeah. That's, how long has that been? 2-3 years?
I think it's been there 2 or 3 years, yeah. And I mean, they're not cheap. I mean, they run to like $300, $400, which is ridiculous. Yeah. But, I mean, they make a killing, I'm guessing, at least, because there are always people there.
Yeah.
So
if they keep like adding on to their design like choices, I think it'll just become more and more popular because people can get more and more like unique types of lightsabers kind of things.
And they are really cool.
Yeah.
They are really cool.
Yeah.
So and well made too. Like very well made.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, that was a really cool booth for sure. Just on the whole, like the exhibitor hall this year was just it was not as stressful at all.
No. There
were a lot like more kind of variety of artists.
Absolutely.
And there was just a lot more, and it felt at the beginning I thought it was going to be a chore to walk through it, but once I got used to seeing a booth with pop dolls and going, okay, I don't need to see that one, it got much easier. And that's the only part that I'm getting a little annoyed with.
Pop dolls.
Pop dolls are everywhere. I don't need every other booth to have a wall of pop dolls. Like, I'm not that interested in them. Yeah. They're kind of cool. I have 2 of them. They're fun.
You just need one with like everything, and I'm sure there was one with everything.
With everything, yeah. And like there are collector's ones that are worth a lot.
Yeah.
Because they're a collector's item, definitely. But man, every single booth had pop dolls.
Yeah.
I'm like, this needs to stop. And there were, like I said, like literally there would be entire booths of pop dolls. And I'm not just talking like 1 or 2 in the whole hall. I'm talking like every aisle. There's a booth full of pop dolls and action figures.
They're too popular, man.
And they're everywhere. It's crazy. So yeah, that was a little like, okay. So once I got used to being like, oh, I'm not interested in that, moving on, it kind of like pares it down a little bit, oddly. Like, you don't feel like there's that much to really look at. But of course, there will never be enough time to see everything you want to see.
I know.
It's impossible. It's gotten too big now.
Yeah.
There's not enough time. But it is really, really cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, I'm really glad that they've increased it, and if they keep increasing it, I'm okay with it.
Let's go for a second floor, man. Second floor vendor hall.
Oh god. Yeah, I mean, when that does happen, when we do have like a second floor vendor hall, or there's another vendor hall in another building or something, oh man, that's gonna be crazy. Yeah. But I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
It would be great. Give it all to the artists.
Yeah, right.
They do so much good.
That would be so good. Oh. All right. So, as far as as far as the exhibitor hall goes, that was awesome.
Yeah.
Other parts of the con that were like the difference from last year to this year. It felt like the panels and the lines for the panels were better handled. Mm-hmm. I never really saw a lot of people. Like, I never saw a volunteer like, oh yeah, I don't know what this line is. Like, the volunteers knew what was happening. At least it felt like to me. Tell me if you've had a different experience, because I do want to know, by the way, if you guys have kind of experienced anything different if you went to Phoenix Comicon, or if you've heard anything about Phoenix Comicon. But as far as I was concerned, I mean, I would like walk somewhere and there would be like the lines weren't covering doors anymore. The volunteers seemed to know, okay, this is what you do when there's a big line. In the exhibitor hall that happened, I was in a signing, and that happened, like they split us up and kept us close to the wall, and I was totally fine with that.
Yeah.
That's not, it's meant to make traffic better for everybody in the hall.
Yeah.
And that was happening with panels too, I think, at least. The experiences made different. But that was just better overall handled. Like, I never had a problem of getting into a panel. And yeah, some were at capacity, definitely. But I mean, that's gonna happen.
Right.
It's hard to.
Did you feel there was a lot of like stopping for the fire hazard speech still?
Maybe. No, honestly, I didn't get it at all this year. Did you?
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, I was in the vendor hall the whole
you
time.
were in the vendor hall. That's true. I don't know. I just never. It felt like everything ran much more smoothly this year.
Yeah.
And the other thing was the security guards were not as
dickish.
Yes. Let's just go ahead and say that. They were very like, okay, we need to move. Like, let's go.
Yeah.
Like, you guys really, you can't stand here. And it's like, it was totally fine. Everybody always calls them, oh god, they're just being assholes because you can't come into the side entrance. And I'm like, okay.
But there's reasoning for that. There's
reasoning for that. And it makes sense that there's a hard and fast rule that you can't come into those side entrances.
Yeah, yeah.
Because if they did, and a panel got out, people would be coming in those side entrances and flood those rooms.
Right.
If you all come in the main entrance, it makes traffic much more doable.
Yeah.
And it makes checking badges much more doable as well. So it totally made sense to me, and I really appreciated how they handled that. Mm-hmm. I thought that was really great. It was well handled.
Also, another thing, guys, save your lanyards. Talking about like membership stuff, because it looks like they're going for the pin thing, which I guess is understandable because there's so many dang
There's
people.
so many people now.
Yeah, so if you don't want holes in your favorite shirts and stuff, save your lanyards.
Yep.
Like. Go to a small con and get a lanyard and then hold on for dear life to it.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, because it got a little difficult with that. I had to pin it to my backpack the first day.
I was wearing my May shirt.
Oh,
that's okay. I just stuck it to like the end.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I mean that was funny because you can tell that it's growing.
Yeah.
Because they were like, yeah, we can't do lanyards this year. We'll just do the little pin.
Right. Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. The panels this year were amazing, I thought. And really, the panels last year were amazing, too. It was just the organization around them that didn't seem that great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, I did not go into the main ballroom, so I don't know how the main ballroom was this year.
Okay.
I heard it was still better, though.
Yeah.
Like, I heard it was just better handled. The lines were better.
Okay.
It was still, like, hot and... everybody's standing in line for an hour and a half to see somebody, but it was still better handled than last year, is what I'd heard.
Uh-huh.
But the panels I went to this year were amazing. I went to, and I'll just shout out 3 of them. First, we went to the movies panel. This is done by Gareth, who's of Skewed and Reviewed, and he's awesome. And he's got a little bit of insider knowledge into the movie industry, so he basically stands there for an hour and just talks about upcoming movies. Nice. And, like, we're talking, like, 2016 and beyond. So these are, like, far in advance movies.
That's awesome.
And it was really, really awesome because, he'll just shout out, like, oh, they have another Fast and Furious on the docket. Here's what I've heard. It's filming here, whatever. Here's the Star Wars. You all know this Star Wars news, but in 2018... they're thinking about doing this or whatever. And, so it was awesome because he was just able to kind of stand up there and just talk. And I love that panel. We have gone every year for 4 years, me and my sister, I think.
Wow, that's awesome.
And that panel is just awesome. It's just a lot of fun, and there's a lot of really good info to come out of that, especially if you really are you want to look towards what movies are coming out, and see kind of like where the industry's going. So that was definitely really interesting. Yeah, a lot of Star Wars movies. From what we've heard. A lot of Star Wars movies.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah. And then... So movies was awesome. And then immediately right after movies, we stayed in the room for Max Brooks, who wrote World War Z and Zombie Survival Guide. And Max Brooks is definitely one of my favorite authors, and honestly, and that's only because I've read those 2 books. But I love those 2 books so much. Like, they're so creative, and so it was really cool. I was really excited to see him, and he was absolutely awesome. That was definitely the best guest I've seen in a few years.
Okay.
I usually don't go see very many guests. This was literally the one that I saw this year.
Yeah.
I felt like we just didn't have enough time, but that was awesome. He was really, really funny. He was kind of like stand-up comedian. He told the story of like the movie, which is completely different from the book, and only shares the name. And so it got very like juicy and very like, and of course his conversation with Brad Pitt after the movie's over, and he's talking about that, and so it was really, really funny.
Yeah.
And you can tell that Max Brooks' father is Mel Brooks, who does Young Frankenstein and Spaceballs and all of those movies. So you can tell he's got a little bit of his dad in him, because he'll like make a joke. It'd be like, "There's the punchline," sort of thing. I learned that from my dad, sort of thing. But it was fantastic. He was very, very good, and had a lot of really good things to say about like creativity and selling out, sort of. Because I mean, he wrote off the rights to his movie, obviously, or his book, obviously.
Yeah.
And then they took the name and literally did nothing with the book.
Oh my.
And we're just like, it's World War Z, and he's like, but it's not really. Yeah. And him talking about the process of getting over that and being like, yeah, they want me to write World War Z 2. And they want, and the movies are going to go off and make billions, and there's going to be 6 of them, and whatever. And I don't care, because I have that book. And if I ever get to a point where I feel like I have material to write a second book, I'll write another one. But I'm not going to do it for the money.
Right.
Because I can write other things for money.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I was like, all right.
If you do it for the money, it's going to show through your work.
And I think that's what he was saying. Is he's like, I don't have material for it. Like, I felt like he was like, I was reading zombie stuff. This is what he said in the panel. He's like, I was reading zombie stuff, and my questions that I had weren't being answered. So I went and wrote World War Z, because I was like, well, you're not talking about, what the socio-political effects of the zombie apocalypse would be.
Yeah.
I'm literally going to go write about that. And then he did. Or, like, what would happen for people on boats in the sea during a zombie apocalypse? Let's talk about that. What would happen to people on islands? Let's talk about that. Like, it's so World War Z is incredibly creative.
That's
in that
really
way.
Cool. Yeah.
And that was just really awesome. And then of course we went and got our book signed. We waited in line like 30 minutes. Didn't even care. I was so excited.
That's not bad.
No, it's
That's
really
not bad.
And that was really, really cool to meet him really quickly and have him sign stuff. And so yeah, I mean that whole experience was amazing. That like made my day. It was so awesome. And then the last thing that I wanted to just mention for panels this year was we went and saw, I think it's called Spoof and Cinema Mashup. And it's like a series of panels that they do. And this is the National Comedy Theater, and they come to Phoenix Comicon and they do a panel where they dub over stuff. So they did a classic Doctor Who, which would have been hilarious, but we missed it. And they did a Star Wars Clone Wars, the 3D animated series. And it was so freaking funny. I laughed so hard. If you guys have a chance, if you ever go to Phoenix Comic Con and you see that on the panel list, go to one. Absolutely go to one. We went to an 18+, so they swore, and it was a little more raunchy, and it was hilarious. It was so freaking funny. And the dubbing is not, like, perfect at all, but they just have a lot of fun with it, and they make up stuff on the fly. Obviously, it's all improv. Well, almost all improv. The sounds and the music and everything they have kind of figured out. And that's the best part, is they also do the sounds and the music. So there are people making lightsaber sounds while 2 people are talking while fighting. It's hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious. So yeah, if you have a chance, go check it out. It's awesome. They were also doing a Goosebumps one. We missed that.
I would have wanted to see this.
So like the only one we saw this time was Star Wars Clone Wars, but next year we definitely want to catch more than one.
Yeah.
Because they did Classic Who, they did Star Wars Clone Wars, Star Trek the Animated Series, which also would have been hilarious because it's a terrible show. And then Goosebumps. Did I ever say Goosebumps?
Yeah.
Okay, what was the other one? Star Wars Clone Wars, Classic Who. Oh no, that was it. Yeah. Star Trek the Animated Series. It was awesome.
Yeah.
It was absolutely awesome. So, yeah, definitely go check that out. That was one of the most entertaining things we did all weekend. I think that was Friday night, really late.
Okay.
But, yeah. So, check that out next year.
Yeah.
If you have time.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, panels this year were awesome. I mean, we went and saw, like I just said, I went and saw 3 completely different panels. I went and saw, a movies panel where they were talking about upcoming movies. I went and saw a guest, and I went and saw, like, a comedy show, basically. I love the variety panels. And that was the other thing I was looking at it. I was looking at the program day before the con, and I realized that there were a lot of variety.
Yeah.
There was a lot of variety panels. And in previous years, sometimes I felt like panels were all the same sometimes. Like, there were so many this versus this last year that I was just like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, one of them that was really awesome was, I think it was zombies versus robots or something like that, where it's like, what apocalypse is better? The Terminator apocalypse, basically, or the zombie apocalypse. And that, my sister said that one was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
They haven't had that since then, and instead it's just been a bunch of people talking, like, DC versus Marvel, and there's, like, 3 different panels of DC versus Marvel, and, like, your chair is squeaking.
I'm sorry, I have a new chair.
You need WD-40, Paul.
I know. It wants to get in the discussion, too.
Apparently. It has things to say.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay. But yeah, so there was just a lot of this versus this year, or last year, and I was kind of like,
Yeah.
I'm not that interested in seeing, like, 4 of those.
And when you bring about the dubbing thing in the national comedy team coming to it, that's another thing is I hope we can get more like professional entertainment people to do something besides like just being a guest kind of thing.
Right.
Something more entertainment specific, like dubbing over something, because I feel like we can get a lot of initiative on this. And stuff like dubbing and improv, it's not easy.
No,
but
it's not easy
we see a lot of just like regular people of the community try it, and I feel like there's a lot of like discussions or like comedy things held by just more fans of the things that end up just kind of getting like watered down into like, I don't know. They're kind of droney.
Well, and like we wanted to go to the DC versus Marvel panel. And then a very good friend of mine said, "Oh, I went to that. It wasn't that great."
Yeah.
Like they were just kind of sitting there like, well, DC has Batman. Somebody else was like, "Yeah, well, Marvel has better movies." And then that was it.
Yeah.
And he was like, it got like to the point where like nobody actually had any teeth. Like nobody actually wanted to talk about it.
Yeah.
They were just they wanted, everybody was very safe. Nobody wanted to offend anyone.
Oh, yeah.
And he was like, well, that's not the point.
Right.
Right? Like, if you actually do love Marvel and don't like DC, talk about it. And I feel like a lot of those comic book panels are like that.
Yeah.
From fans.
Yeah.
Like, they're very kind of like...
They just kind of lose direction or, like, impact kind of thing. But, I mean... I don't want to, like, dash dreams of people of not hosting panels or anything.
No,
but, like,
no.
I think it would do the convention a lot of good to have a balance of both.
Yeah.
Because, in the past, it's a lot less professional things besides guests just being guests.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. But, like, I think it should be, like, a little of both,
Yeah, and
like,
I mean... the other...
For people who want, like to see a more professional entertainment thing, they're there. But, like, if you want to get into the nitty-gritty or meet some more people of the community, you have, like, the panelists who are just, like, local and, like doing panels
right,
kind of thing.
Exactly,
just kind of part of the community,
And, I mean, I think, I definitely don't want to stop anybody from, like, doing panels or anything. That's not what I'm trying to say. But that's what I like this year, is that there were, like, a variety of things.
Yeah.
Of panels. Instead of just, like, hey, let's get people in the seats
and talk about stuff.
That's the thing. Is like, let's get people in the seats with a big title like DC versus Marvel, and then literally not talk about it because we don't want to offend anyone. Instead, it was like, hey, let's hold a geek wedding panel. It may not be that popular, but at the end of that panel, like I was there for the end of that panel because my friend is actually getting married.
Yeah.
And she asked questions. She was the first person to ask questions, and then next thing you know, everybody's asking questions, and it's actually like a useful panel. Like, there's good information.
Yeah.
People are talking about stuff.
Right.
Yeah, the room isn't to capacity. Right? Like, half the room was full, maybe.
Right.
Who cares?
Yeah.
Right? Like, people are getting something out of it, and that's a cool topic.
Absolutely.
And we did the same thing, you know, somebody was there, we went to a set design panel, because my friend is actually going to college for set design. This is mostly for stage, but so she went in, and the guy talked about, I've been in the film industry for how long, this is what a set designer is, this is what an art director is, these are the differences, this is what we do, this is what we use, this is how you get into the industry,
right?
This is what
a lot
know.
Of like hard meaty information, right. You know.
And it was part of a film school series that they were doing of panels. Absolutely. Where they were talking about, it was basically like film school.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
And you know, I don't think it has to be like a super like practical topic for you to have a lot of ready hardy information. You can do DC versus Marvel, but just like if the conversation doesn't go into like wild territories on its own,
right?
Have some stuff for yourself, you know. I mean, that's what will make the thing interesting. And you know, I mean, it like discussionary. I don't think you should always have the mindset of like, oh, it'll run itself, people will be interested, kind of thing. Yeah. You made this panel, lead it. You know.
Yeah. No, it's a good point.
Yeah.
So anyway, but yeah, I felt like variety panels that I saw this year were just better. Yeah. It was just more variety, and they were just better panels, actually, from what I saw at least. And so yeah, I mean, tell me what you guys think. The only other panel that I heard about that was bad was DC versus Marvel. So if you guys went to Phoenix Comicon, or you know people who do, tell us what they thought. Because I'd be kind of interested to hear if other people had other experiences. Yeah. Absolutely. That were not as good. So yeah, Exhibit Hall was awesome. Panels were awesome. Downtown Phoenix is awesome, actually. I just wanted to mention really quickly that a lot of these restaurants are really getting into it, and I really appreciate that. We went to a place that...
Two Fat Guys Grilled Cheese.
Two Fat Guys Grilled Cheese.
Oh, that's so good.
I mean, it's convention level prices, but man, that is a good grilled cheese. Oh, my goodness. Yeah. And especially, like, it's right there. And this is a food truck that we're talking about, by the way. It's called Two Fat Guys Grilled Cheese. And it is awesome. Yeah. And, I mean, they're just right there, like, right outside the convention hall. And so much better than the food court food. Yeah. So much better. So yeah, I mean, I just love the fact that downtown Phoenix and a lot of the restaurants and shops are really getting into it. Absolutely. Because we went to Coach's Grill, which I think is a sports bar, and they all had shirts that were Batman themed. Really? Yeah, and that was really cool. And they had like drawn on capes on the back of their shirts. Oh, that was really fantastic. Cool. So I was like, just stuff like that. I saw that a lot this weekend, and I thought that was really cool. Kind of like what Anime Expo, where downtown LA does for Anime Expo. Everybody welcomes people from Anime Expo. Yeah, absolutely. So that's really cool as well. Yeah. So yeah, I was glad to see that. There was a lot of that. I feel like downtown Phoenix is really getting into it, and I mean, because it's huge. I mean, that's why everybody's getting into it. I mean, it's definitely here to stay. Right. Absolutely. You know. I think whether we like it or not, it's just become like a big tourist attraction at the same time, kind of thing. Yeah. You know, it's like what we were talking about on like the light rails. Like we saw so many people not in costume at all or anything like that. That are going to the con. Yeah. And actually, you know, in previous years, I've been like, oh, I hate that. Well, I hate you people. Yeah. And this is something that I wanted to mention that's different from last year to this year, is that I didn't mind that at all this year. Because I had, off the top of my head, I can think of like 5 separate times where, and maybe it was just because I was like stopped somewhere, that somebody asked me a question and were inquisitive about what something was. Yeah. We're in line at the Max Brooks panel, and we're kind of near the front of the line, and somebody stops and goes, what is this? And we're like, oh, this is for Max Brooks. He wrote World War Z and Zombie Survival Guide. World War Z is like a zombie apocalypse book. And they're totally dressed normally, mother and daughter. Daughter goes, I've heard of that, never read it. Is it worth it? Started a conversation instantly. That's fantastic. These are definitely not people, I mean, like, I don't know how much nerdy stuff they're into, right? Right. But they were definitely not like, oh, let's get dressed up and go to Phoenix Comic Con. Like, they had Saturday badges on. They were there for Saturday. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And they were just there to hang out.
Right.
And that was, I mean, that was totally fine.
Mm-hmm.
And they were inquisitive and curious, but they were not mean about it.
Yeah, yeah. Which I think is what you said earlier is, like, last year compared to this year, there were a lot less, like, jerk bro-ish characters checking it out.
No, it's very true.
Like, I think the bros were replaced with families.
Basically. You know? Well, that's what my experience was this year. Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. Because, like, last year, you think of 2 separate times, 2 different groups of people that would come over and make fun of somebody's costume or something.
Yeah.
Or, like, want to take a picture with a girl kind of in scantily clad, like, cosplay on.
Right.
And, like, what's going on? You know, and, like, try to hit on her in the middle of the thing and touch her and shit like that.
Yeah.
I didn't see any of that this year. And that might also be helped by the cosplay is not consent thing.
Oh,
which they were pushing
They pushed really hard this past year.
And I think a few years ago I would have been like, you don't need that. Like, why would you ever need that? Like, whatever. And now that I've been here long enough and I've been to enough cons, you absolutely do. Because the amount of human scum out there is bad. And honestly, when you have something this big, you're going to get people who come there that just don't understand. That are creepy. That are creepy and they just don't get it.
They should understand, though. I mean, even strip clubs have no touching policies.
It's true.
I mean, come on, people.
No, and
basic common sense.
Yeah, that's the thing. Some of it is basic common sense. There are also people who don't understand that might just try to, like, take it a little too far. Not like touching or anything, but just take it a little too far.
Yeah. That
I think cosplay is not consent was helping a lot of too.
Absolutely.
But I love that this year. I was so glad that was everywhere. Everybody felt like at least was super comfortable.
Yeah.
And didn't mind, and people were taking pictures and it was fine, and I never once saw an issue like I saw last year.
No. It was a much cooler atmosphere.
I felt like it was too, yeah. And I think you're right. It was replaced by families.
Yeah.
There were a lot of families, and families that were definitely out of place. Definitely walking through the exhibit hall or hallways like, what is happening? But
the thing is, they weren't weirded out. They were in awe.
Yes.
Kind of thing.
And that's what I saw,
too. They were really
enjoying
it all.
Like, literally, I really do think I can think of 5 separate times that I had somebody ask me and be like, what's happening? Or, like, in the exhibit hall, like, I had 2 times somebody asked me, like, there was kind of like 12 and 13-year-olds, like, apparently there's a lightsaber booth. Do you know where that is? And I'm like, I do. I just walked by it. It's right over there.
Follow the giant glowing rainbow in the corner.
Yeah, right? Like, it's right over there. You can't miss it. It's, like, really bright. But I never had one person be condescending or mean.
No.
I had somebody stop and ask, like, I took a picture of Alice from Madness Returns.
Okay.
So she's kind of, like, covered in blood and kind of, like, messed up.
Yeah.
People were like, who is that? I'm like, oh, it's Alice from a video game, blah, blah, blah. Talk about this. And they were like, oh, that's cool. Like, I didn't even know that was a thing. And it was just a couple that I'm guessing was there for fun.
Yeah.
Didn't know much about it.
Right.
And I don't know. I didn't get any of the bro-ish, like, condescending crew.
Hit on.
Right, exactly. I didn't get any of that. I didn't see any of it. So, I don't know. I felt like the atmosphere this year was just so much better.
Absolutely.
So I'm really glad too, because I was kind of fearful this year. Mm-hmm. I had people, for those that don't know, I had people coming to town, like a lot of people. So I was going to be there.
Yeah.
All 3 days. And I was a little worried, like, am I going to get there and we're not going to go to panels and I'm not going to want to be around other people? And it was the complete opposite.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
We struck up conversations with people. People were very chill about things. It was very, very nice.
Yeah.
And that's what a con atmosphere should be.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Really quickly, what was your favorite cosplay you saw?
Ooh. Okay. My favorite cosplay was actually the Teen Girl Squad cosplay that I saw.
Oh, I saw pictures of...
Which is from Homestar Runner. I saw them in the hallway right as we were going into the movies panel, and I was like, I have to take a picture of you.
Yeah.
This is the coolest fucking thing I've ever seen. And they had, for anybody that hasn't seen Teen Girl Squad, basically it's like a webcomic that's just
from Strong Bad.
From Strong Bad,
yeah.
Who's from Homestar Runner. And literally, it's just a comic. He's drawing on white lined paper, black stick figures. So what they did is they have white dresses, and then they have black, like, marker as the stick figure part.
Yeah.
And then they had masks that were their faces. It was awesome.
Yeah.
It was so good. So good. All right, sorry. That's part of the comment. And so we, I had to take a picture of it. So I took a picture of it, and it was really funny. I tweeted it from my other Project Nerd Assembly because we were tweeting cosplay all day.
Right.
And it just blew up. Everybody was like, oh my god, that's the coolest cosplay. Everybody loved it. Yeah. It was really, really cool. So that's probably my favorite, and then my second favorite would be the Spaceballs cosplay.
Oh, I didn't see the Spaceballs.
It was awesome. I will have to show you that after. It is so freaking awesome. It was really good, too, because there were, like, 3 of them. Uh-huh. It was, like, the Mog, Barf, and then, which is the funniest name. And then, obviously, the princess and her droid.
Yeah,
And they were awesome.
Yeah.
And they had props to go with it, which was awesome.
That's great.
So yeah, that was probably my second favorite. How about you?
What is it? Well, I mean, going back to the Teen Girl Squad thing, I think that's just a prime example of, like, when it comes to cosplay and cons, you will see everything and anything.
It's true. I first saw that and I went,
like, freaking crazy.
How did you do that?
Yeah, like, for an example of that, not my favorite, but, like, a really good one, too, is I saw a Miss Frizzle.
Yeah, that's right. You were telling me about that.
Yeah, from freaking Magic School Bus.
That is so awesome.
It was great, but
people are so creative. I love it.
Absolutely. And okay, I would say my favorite cosplay would be the Aku. Did you see the Aku?
Maybe I chose the wrong favorite cosplay. That Aku is like 8.5 feet tall.
Yeah,
and it was
like perfect.
It was perfect.
Yeah,
it was literally perfect.
It was a massive extension. The head and the face was a mask. It was like a complete, like, accurate rendition of Aku itself, and then also he had the, like, little, like, flare out cape things at the bottom. So it was
cool.
It was so good. And then there was also another one. It was the Gurren Lagann gunman thing, which was freaking crazy. It had, like, gigantic drills on his shoulders and, like, all these light up stuff everywhere. That was, like, it was massively impressive. But like those were just a few that I really enjoyed among, like, I don't know, there are just so many good ones, you know?
Yeah, the amount of, like, built things this year really, really took me by surprise.
Yeah.
There were a lot of really complicated, like, robots, like Gurren, or, like, Aku.
I think there were some, like, Transformers and Gundams as well.
There were some Transformers and some Gundams that were pretty good. There was a lot. It was really impressive. Definitely there are people who are coming out for show on these. They're awesome.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. And that was actually one of the things I noticed. The cosplay was gotten really, really good.
Oh, yeah.
There's some really good cosplay.
Now that, like, that's another thing that's just gotten super popular, and now people are trying to create careers out of it. It's like, okay, the game has been upped a lot.
I mean, there was also one. Do you remember the pink umbrella girl from Ruby? The henchman with the umbrella?
I did not see.
Okay, I saw one in Phoenix Comicon that was amazing.
Really?
And I didn't get a picture because she was she just got done with the picture, so I didn't want to be like, can I also take a picture? I didn't do that. And so she was, like, walking away, but she was amazing.
Yeah.
And, like, she did the thing with the anime eyes where she kind of, like, made her eyes a little bit bigger.
Oh, with, like, the makeup?
With the makeup and stuff. And I was just like, it just blew my mind. I was like, oh my god. So that was some of the best makeup that I saw that weekend. I mean, people who do that and who kind of start to look a little like anime characters, like, not, like, cartoonish, but just, like, make their eyes a little bit bigger and do makeup a little bit differently. That's just amazing to me. And if done right, it doesn't look weird.
Yeah.
It looks natural and still looks more like the character.
Right,
and if you hadn't done that.
Yeah, so, like, it has to be really subtle. You can't, like,
no, that's the thing.
Overboard.
You can't go overboard. And she totally didn't. It was just noticeable. You could tell, and it was perfect. So, yeah, and I saw a couple of those this weekend, too. Like, I don't know, some of the makeup is just, like, goddamn, that's incredible. Like the Borderlands ones, we see those every year, like the cell shaded.
Yeah.
Where they like draw on themselves.
Right.
I mean, I saw one this year that blew my mind.
Handsome
I was like,
Jack and the whole gang.
Oh yeah, that was the gang that I saw was Handsome Jack, and it was pre-sequel, so it was Handsome Jack, Nisha, the Lawbringer, and actually it might have been Maya from Borderlands 2. But it was like a group of them, and I was just like, I don't understand. How do you guys do that? So, I mean, he had the perfect Handsome Jack mask. It was like, I don't understand. So.
Oh, also shout outs to Katrina and James for an awesome Last of Us cosplay. James was the main character, and then
I saw that
Katrina
on Facebook.
Was what are the zombie coral face things?
The clickers.
Oh, it was wonderful and creepy and great job. Actually, that's when she gave me the hat she was making.
Yeah, that's
for me.
right.
It's like. It has my Smash tag on the front of it. It's like, what is that? Ton of it. But yeah, she did a great job on that cosplay. Like, I didn't even recognize her at first.
Really
and then
cool.
She's like, yeah, I'd give you a hug, but I'm really sticky right now. But yeah, great job with that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So yeah, on the whole, Phoenix Comicon was a much better experience than last year.
Experience, yeah.
And I am really excited for next year because if they can keep kind of this thing rolling and I can keep coming and
keep organizing
fun,
for good.
Yeah.
Apparently, they're like training their volunteers a lot better ahead of time. I guess I had heard a little bit about that beforehand, but I didn't realize how much of a difference that would make. But it honestly showed. People need to be prepared.
Yeah, like it really did show.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean they're doing a lot better training, I think.
Yeah,
which is a really good thing. Because I mean they're volunteers. It's not like they know exactly what they're doing.
Right.
You need to train them how to handle situations. So yeah, just on the whole, this was an awesome Comic-Con.
Yeah.
If you ever have a chance to come down to Phoenix for Phoenix Comic-Con,
it's
really
totally worth it.
It really is. Like, if you are looking for a con to travel for, I think this is worth it. If you don't have, like, a specific one, like, you don't want to go to the Star Trek convention, or you don't want to go to Anime Expo, you're just looking for, like, a Comic-Con.
A general con.
This is a really, really good one, because it's not as big as San Diego. It's still big. But it's not as big.
Would you say it's the one right under San Diego?
Probably.
Yeah.
Maybe still below New York. I'm not sure how big New York is.
That might. Yeah. I could imagine that being big, but
I feel like it's just the perfect step down because
right.
It's big, it's fun, but it's
not. But it's not impossible to get into.
It's not impossible to get into. It's not insane. The lines, each line is not 2.5 hours long for any panel.
Yeah.
You can walk into panels.
Right.
Wait in line for guests, sure, but you can walk into other panels.
Right.
Whereas at San Diego Comic-Con, sometimes you can't even do that.
No.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, it seems like it's the perfect step down. And they're doing a really good job. And they might start capping early to keep this. This is the perfect population right now.
Right.
If you grow past 100,000, I think you're getting to the point where it's a little dangerous, a little unwieldy.
I don't know if they'll stop the growth that much though, honestly.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't and they just let it grow. But I think it might be smart of them to not let it grow and maybe just start letting passes get sold out.
Right.
Instead, I think that might start to be the better decision. Yeah. Because this convention center isn't going to hold that many people. I mean, it can hold a lot of people, but
yeah, if they really want this to grow, what they'll have to do is really start spreading out into other areas, more stuff in like hotel lobbies and all that.
Yeah, definitely.
If that's what they want to do.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, well, I hope you guys enjoyed our conversation about Phoenix Comic-Con. It was awesome.
We had a fun time. Hope you did too.
Yeah, tell us what your experience was like if you went. If you didn't go and you want to look into it, it's pretty awesome. It's not that expensive. Check
out some of the links we put below. The artists and
definitely
all that.
Check out links for artists because they were awesome this year. So I guess you can find us if you want to tell us how Phoenix Comic Con was. You can find us at Facebook.com/fanboyspodcast. Let's start there.
YouTube.com/thefanvoicepodcast.
Twitter @fanvoicepodcast.
Our email fan@thefanvoice.com.
And our website, thefanvoice.com, where you can find news, reviews, and all that good stuff. I almost screwed that up because it's been too long.
You saved it. I saved it. We'll get back in the swing of things.
All right. Well, we will see you guys later.
Bye.